Welcome back to the Some Pulp. Welcome, actually, to the Some Pulp Podcast. I'm your host, Joe Loria.
And I'm your co-host, Josh Jones.
And we are a film podcast coming to you from Autonomous Productions.
Yeah, Ottonomous Productions is the premier Syracuse University film production company. We make a lot of dope short films.
I think they're also the only one on campus, too.
Yeah, we are.
Yes, but it's a great club if you want to join. Follow us on Instagram.
Yeah, at autonomous_.
Yeah.
That's the Insta handle.
Yeah.
Anyway, you guys are probably wondering why the heck you should be listening to us and our movie opinions.
Well, I guess then we should introduce ourselves.
Exactly.
Yes. So my name is Joe Loria. I'm a sophomore here at Syracuse University. I'm a TRF major in the Newhouse School, which automatically makes me cooler than any of you because I'm in Newhouse. But yeah, I love movies. I love watching TV. I have a very interesting taste of movies and television, though. It's a lot different than the typical film critics type of film opinions, you know. I haven't seen many Marvel movies. Actually, I've seen no Marvel movies recently. I haven't seen Star Wars since I was in probably the second grade.
Wait, you're kidding me? Really? You
No.
haven't seen Star
It's just not something I'm a big fan of.
Did you watch, sorry, we're getting off topic, but have you seen, the original trilogy and the prequels?
Yeah, I've seen those.
But none of the sequels?
None of the sequels, no.
Okay.
And, yeah, we'll talk about my favorite movies later on in the podcast. But my all-time favorite movie is Goodfellas. I just had to say that. That kind of gives you a vibe of who I am. I love Scorsese. I love Tarantino, those kind of movies. That's kind of a red flag for some people, but those are my favorite things.
It's definitely film bro energy, I think.
Yeah.
I respect it.
Yeah.
Hey, no, there's no hate for the film bro energy.
Yeah, I've also been on one singular Autonomous Productions set.
Yeah.
It was Dine and Dash.
Yeah, go ahead.
That was a cool time. That was a good time. It was pretty fun. I'd never been on a film set before, and from doing that, that's how I landed this gig. And this is gonna be a great time. I'm very excited to get started. This is my first ever podcast. I'm on radio though. Check me out on Z89. Not to plug myself, The Juice and the Z Morning Zoo on Tuesdays. But yeah, first ever podcast. I'm excited to get started. But Josh, why don't you introduce yourself to everybody?
Yeah. So as you guys know, my name is Josh Jones. I am also a television, radio, film student at Newhouse. I'm a junior though, not a sophomore. What do I even talk about? I struggled to get into film. I was originally a newspaper student.
Wow.
Realized that I was miserable doing that. And my dad was like, "Hey, you like movies. You talk about movies all the time. Why don't you study movies?"
Exactly.
And I was like, "Sure." Like it's kind of the first time I've ever heard a parent suggest that their kid go into the arts.
Yeah, I gotta say, my parents were the same way, and I was honestly surprised because usually when parents hear that their child wants to get involved in film, the first thing that comes out of their mouth is, okay, so what's the backup plan?
Yeah, exactly.
What's the minor?
How are you going to actually have
money? Are you double
money?
majoring? Exactly. But thankfully, I lucked out, and my parents were the same way. They've always been supportive. And honestly, I got to say, shout out to the parents that are supportive of their kids getting involved in film.
Love you, Mom and Dad.
Love you too, Mom and Dad.
Anyway, to continue with my character
continuing
bio.
on, yeah.
I like to think that I'm a pretty good movie nerd. I definitely haven't seen a lot of the classics. I've seen, I think, one, maybe two Scorsese films.
Like
I'm working on my Tarantino.
Wow.
I have some hot Tarantino takes, but we'll get to that later.
Interested to hear those.
Love Marvel movies. Obsessed with them. I think anything like geek culture is definitely my bread and butter, but I'm definitely trying to get more into, I don't even know what to call them. I don't want to call them, films or cinema because I hate that term. I definitely think that Marvel movies are cinema, whatnot. But I'm definitely trying to expand my taste in film. And I'm highly critical. I'm so critical of everything I watch.
Are you on Letterboxd?
Oh, of course I'm on Letterboxd.
If you haven't downloaded Letterboxd and you're watching this podcast, there's a problem.
Yeah,
download Letterboxd.
You should
get
on Letterboxd.
A film bro or nerd unless you have a Letterboxd account.
Yeah, you can follow me at TR3YJ at Letterboxd. Thank you.
I think I am. I'll pull up my Letterboxd right now. If anyone's
you
interested in following.
CL?
I am Clums Loria.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that later on the podcast.
All right, I'm very curious about that.
But that is a nickname that was given to me back in the day when I went to this summer camp. But yeah, Clums Loria on Letterboxd. Add me. Don't have a lot of movies on there. I only have lists.
You work on it.
Yeah, I'm working on it. It's a work in progress. But yeah, so as you could tell, our movie tastes are very different. You have film bro and film nerd. Not
There
to
you
call
go.
you a
No,
nerd.
no, it's pretty
But,
accurate.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
Also want to explain the name because to some people, when they heard the Some Pulp podcast, no one really understood what that was.
I wouldn't have understood what it was.
Yeah, so the Some Pulp podcast is a reference to a Sopranos line. Also, we got to talk about that because the prequel movie drops next week. But yeah, there's a line in The Sopranos where Tony is talking to his wife about orange juice, and his wife got him the wrong orange juice, and he goes, "This is the one with pulp. I like the one with some pulp." And I figured that's perfect because that's the greatest TV show of all time, in my humble opinion. And also, we're Syracuse, and if you go to Syracuse University, you know that we try to plug in orange into everything.
Every little thing.
From My Slice to, like, Juice Jam, which is this weekend, to Autothon, anything orange, like the peel. There's something like peeled.
I don't know what you're talking about.
There's some kind of peel. There's a show in Citrus TV that's called Unpeeled.
Oh, that's funny.
All juice, everything about this school, we somehow try to add orange into it.
Like almost all of the acapella groups have some like orange pun to them. Like, there's, like main squeeze, mandarins.
Even our program has an orange.
Yeah, we literally have an
Autonomous.
orange.
So I think this was the perfect name for the podcast. But let's get into our main topic of today's episode: remake and reboot culture in films and TV. Yeah. Josh, you take the lead on this one because you brought this topic in.
Here's the thing. There are a lot of remakes and reboots coming up. Notably, The Matrix. Oh, what is it called?
I saw that. The Matrix they're rebooting.
The fourth one.
The Matrix, it is the...
And, like, let's talk about all the Disney live-action remakes that there been in the past
I'm not
couple
a
years.
fan of those, I have to say. I think that's... It's just called the...
No, it's Resurrections. That's
Matrix
what it is.
Resurrections is the Matrix one. Keanu Reeves is coming back.
The person who plays Trinity is coming back, too.
I've actually never seen The Matrix.
You've never seen it ever?
No. There's gonna be a lot of movies that we talk about on this podcast that you are going to say, "Wow, you've never seen that too."
You know, I feel like you might do the same thing to me though. But it's on different.
It's on different
spectrums.
Exactly. So this is why it works. But yes, the Marvel remake. Well, I feel like every Marvel
remake?
You don't consider the Spider-Man movies to be a remake?
Okay, so this is also something I wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
So Spider-Man, for those of you guys listening at home, Spider-Man's my favorite superhero of all time.
Yes. Who do you think is the best Spider-Man?
This is such a pointed question. This is really difficult for me. If I have to choose my favorite Spider-Man, like the actor portraying Spider-Man, I'd probably say Tom Holland. But if I'm talking about the best films, probably the Sam Raimi, Tobey Maguire movies. I really like those movies. I think they're very well done and very emotional and character driven.
I've only seen Tobey Maguire Spider-Mans.
I don't think that's... Have you seen Spider-Man 2, at least?
Yeah, I've seen all the three Tobey Maguire ones. I saw Spider-Man, Spider-Man 2, and Spider-Man 3.
Okay.
Those are the 3 Spider-Man movies I've seen.
That's fair. And you can skip the Andrew Garfield ones. We don't need them. They're fine.
I've heard
they're okay movies.
Okay.
Yeah. But like even like with Spider-Man No Way Home, there's huge rumors. They're almost not rumors at this point that Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield are going to return.
But what are they going to do? So isn't that considered a reboot or a remake?
So
or no?
I mean, like it's like I don't even know. It's really complicated because they would essentially be making this their sequel, even though the MCU Spider-Man is in no way connected, at least initially, to those universes because they're completely separate.
I don't know. I don't understand the Marvel movies because I feel like all of them are reboots and remakes because they just have new people playing the role.
It gets really complicated. Don't worry. I'll teach you so much more about Marvel movies.
I'm excited to learn more. I mean, I just feel like in general though, it seems like that entertainment in general has just run out of ideas and now they're just... I also will throw spin-offs into this category as well.
Yeah, no, I think that counts.
I mean, in 2021 alone, there is a list on Insider of 28 TV reboots, remakes, and spin-offs that are in the works right now.
Wow.
28. There's not that many things on television that are worth watching. I mean, some to name, you have Dexter is getting a reboot.
Dexter's getting their final season.
Oh.
Just to clarify that. because I haven't seen Dexter yet. I've heard great things about
Uh-huh.
it. Besides, like the last season, I heard the last season is garbage.
Yeah.
And so they're redoing, or they're making an additional season a couple years post its ending.
That's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Then you have the Jetsons.
The Jetsons are getting a new movie.
They're getting a new show.
A new show.
Rugrats came out this year. iCarly came out this year.
Okay, I have a hot take. What
did you think of the
I kind of enjoy the iCarly.
I do too.
Wait, have you seen it?
I saw a couple episodes.
Stop.
I actually really liked it. I had the biggest crush on iCarly when I was a wee old.
I was in second grade.
8-year-old. Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably I'm a year younger than you, so I was in first grade, but I had the biggest crush on iCarly growing up.
That's so funny.
So I loved watching it. I also think it's funny that it's now more adult themes, kind of.
Yeah.
And isn't she dating Freddie now? Or they
I
hook up?
I don't think so. I haven't seen the very last episode of the season yet, but she actually. Do you mind if I spoil it?
You can spoil it.
Okay.
I wasn't planning on.
She like gets with this like auto mechanic guy. Like there's one episode where like her car breaks down. She names it Vin Diesel.
Her car's named Vin Diesel.
Her car's named Vin Diesel.
See, that's like funny.
And it breaks down, and this guy, he's like, yeah, no, like there's no way of fixing this. This is like $1,500, something like that. And she's like, well, how in the world am I gonna pay for this? And she basically is like, you're lying to me because you think that I'm a woman and that I'm stupid and I don't know anything about cars. So she goes to like a mechanic school, and he's teaching it. And they end up like falling in love with each other in that process.
Oh.
It's really weird.
So that's what happens.
Yeah.
Is she still doing the show? Like the iCarly show?
So this is my least favorite part about the show. They, like in the very first episode, they showed her actually shooting the show. Because, you know, like that's how like a lot of the episodes
that was how
start.
Yeah.
Like back
Welcome
when it was
back,
on
guys. It's iCarly here.
Literally. But now they never show her on the show. Like, she'll occasionally mention, like, oh, yeah, like, we just saw this really funny bit earlier. But they'll never show them shooting
maybe
it.
it's because it's 10 years after the original running of their iCarly had ended, so maybe people aren't tuning in to iCarly in the iCarly universe.
No, they are. They're getting so many views. They talk about how many views they're getting.
Where's the proof, though?
Where's the
proof?
Well, there is actually one episode where this is getting so off topic. So I'll finish with this. There's one episode where basically Carly makes a meme out of Spencer, and Spencer like has this huge exposition out of spite of her.
Oh.
Right? And she's live streaming it, being like, hey, you guys should all come see this. And she gets like all of these views. She's getting like hundreds of thousands of views.
Well, wait a second. Before we get off the topic of iCarly,
Yeah.
I think it's time to do one of my favorite segments, film and TV theories, because speaking of Spencer, is a theory about iCarly and Spencer stemming back to their time on Drake and Josh.
How in the world did you segue this? Was this planned the entire time?
No, it was not planned. I just thought in my head about it.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so there's a theory that Spencer... It's a theory on the internet that stems. I am just looking this up real quick because it's a fan theory that claims that Crazy Steve from Drake and Josh, because as you know, what is her name in real life? Miranda Cosgrove, and I'm just gonna call them Spencer from iCarly because I don't know the actor.
Jerry Trainer?
Is that his name? Jerry Trainer?
I think so.
So they both were on Drake and Josh. Right, and he was Crazy Steve on Drake and Josh. He was the crazy movie theater guy. There's a theory that Crazy Steve murders Drake and Josh.
Stop.
And kidnaps Megan and created whole new lives for them as siblings, Carly and Spencer.
That's kind of terrifying.
Yeah, kind of.
That's really freaky. Do you mind if I shatter your theory right now? Is that okay? Or is that offensive to you?
No, go for it.
There is one episode of iCarly where she's sitting down and she's watching Drake and Josh. And then Megan like says some line and she's like, ugh, like what an awful person. And it's supposed to be like a huge meta joke.
Maybe she was I don't know.
Maybe it could be what's that movie called? The Truman Show kind of thing.
So here's a
the entire time.
That's true. So here's a more in-depth theory.
Okay, ready.
So it also says there's more. In the earlier episodes of iCarly, Spencer and Carly's grandfather arrived to take Carly with him to a town known as Yakima because he felt Spencer was not responsible enough to be Carly's caregiver. At one point in the episode, he said that he would be staying in the Parker Nichols Hotel until he came to finally take Carly to Yakima with him. In Drake and Josh, Drake's last name was Parker and Josh's was Nichols.
Yeah. Okay.
Thus, giving the idea that they had something to do with the hotel. The truth is that Drake and Josh survived and used the inheritance from their parents on the event of their death to start a hotel that they called the Parker Nichols Hotel, named after the two brothers. They sent Carly's grandfather, who was really some random old man they paid to go and take Megan back from Crazy Steve, only to fail. Saddened by this, Drake and Josh became addicted to methamphetamine, only to convert the hotel into a meth house, which eventually resulted in them being found out and the hotel being shut down for good. Broke and drug addicted, Drake and Josh stole a stash of meth from a local dealer and escaped to the sewers with the drugs, where the rest of their lives they did them and hallucinated that they were living the old life in their house in San Diego with their parents.
Yeah.
In an effort to save Drake, Helen quit her job at the premiere, stole a TARDIS, became the Doctor, and took Drake with her to adventure through space and time. What about Josh? Well, he managed to cure his addiction, clean his life up, and get a new acting job playing as a character in the Red Dawn remake. Little did he know that the communist invasion he fought in the movie was actually happening in real life after Megan grew up, built an army, and sent her people to take over the United States. Weeks later, the U.S. was taken over by Megan's forces, and she disguised herself as Barack Obama, becoming the president.
Joe,
so yes.
Did you expect it to go off the rails like this? Also,
no, I did not.
Who posted this? Just so I can know, like the username.
It is in creepypasta articles, creepypasta narrated by Dave the Useless.
Thank you, Dave.
The totally legit.
That was useless.
This was called the totally legit iCarly theory. That is my first film theory.
That was beautiful.
Yes, I figured I'd go on a tangent right there since we mentioned iCarly.
That was great.
But back to the reboot culture. It's getting a little ridiculous.
It is. I think so. I guess the interesting question here is, do you go and watch remakes?
It depends. Like, it depends on what exactly is the remake.
Yeah.
Is it a remake that it's beating at a dead horse, per se?
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, for me, growing up, I loved baseball, so the Sandlot movies.
Mm-hmm.
I think 2 and 3 were not needed. It's also the same thing with sequels. I think you could also throw sequels into that category.
Sure.
I mean, so for me, I've never seen Sandlot 2 or 3. They're not needed.
Okay.
There was one Sandlot. The Bad News Bears, same thing. That movie came out in the 1970s. It's a classic athletic baseball sports movie. I don't know if you've ever seen The Bad News Bears.
I have not.
Okay.
I recognize the name, but I've never seen it.
It's a great movie. And then they remade that 30 years later.
I'm sure it's very good.
Bombed. The remake one bombed.
Okay.
So it depends on what the movie is. It also depends on what the TV show is. It just all depends for me.
So
what about you?
I'm kind of problematic. You just scrolled past Power Rangers. So I remember I watched the Power Rangers like remake, reboot, whatever you want to call it. I watch most all of the Disney not superhero, like princess whatnot
stuff.
Stories.
Yeah.
Like I rewatched
Disney royalty.
like Aladdin. I rewatched.
Now, what'd you think of those? Because I have not seen one of them.
So if you compare them to like the originals, they're never going to be nearly as good. Like Aladdin is a classic, one of my favorite, if not my favorite Disney movie of all time. But I found some enjoyment in the live action version.
Now, what is the enjoyment you find? That's what I'm curious about.
So maybe a lot of it is just nostalgia. Maybe it's just that I love, hearing all the songs that I, grew up with, and I'm hearing them again. But also, like, I don't know, they kind of like breathe new life. It's interesting to watch how they turn these like cartoons where you could do anything in a cartoon.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like your limit is your imagination.
Exactly.
Whereas when you're doing stuff in live action, sure, like we have VFX nowadays, but like you are constrained to what looks okay and what looks normal. And it's really cool to see how they pulled it off. Like what's that? The Friend Like Me?
Aladdin.
So, yeah. I mean,
who's singing it?
No, what's like the name of the song?
Well, that's I'm in the mood to help you, dude. You ain't never had a friend like.
Oh yeah, it literally is just Friend Like Me. Okay.
I think it is that song, but yes, I know what you're talking about.
That song in the Aladdin remake is kind of a bop.
I've heard it. Will Smith did kill it in his role.
Like, sure, it's not Robin Williams, but it was never going to be Robin Williams.
So I think then I kind of see a justification for doing that in the sense that it's different people playing the roles.
But it's the principle of the thing that bothers me.
Uh-huh.
Because it's purely creating content based off of our love for other things to bring us in, right? It's almost one of those like surefire like money earners.
Oh, it's a money thing. It has to be. I mean, you're talking about Disney here. They've bought so many media conglomerates.
Yeah.
They're now the single-handedly biggest media conglomerate, I think, in the world.
I mean, the mouse rules everything.
Yes. So I think that's why they do it. I think other companies are just following in their path. I mean, Game of Thrones is getting a remake. No, a spin-off.
Yeah.
I also think spin-offs are same category. That doesn't take a lot of work to do. The Walking Dead has had countless spin-offs.
Yeah, I know there's like what is it, like Rise of the Walking Dead or something like that.
There's Rise of the Walking Dead, but now they're making a spin-off of Carol and Daryl.
Oh, really?
The Walking Dead. They're getting a show together. Then there's Tales from the Walking Dead.
Oh.
Which is not the same as Fear the Walking Dead. Now this show, what were you saying?
I was gonna say there's so many Star Wars.
Oh yeah,
spin-offs too.
But Disney.
You're
Disney.
right. But like, have you seen their slate of like new TV shows that are coming out? They're like
No.
10. They're like literally there's an Obi-Wan show. There's the Visions one that just came out. Like they did Bad Batch recently. There's one about whatever that dude's name is from Rogue One.
You're asking the wrong person.
Oh, I forgot. You're behind.
You're asking the wrong person.
I apologize.
They're making a How I Met Your Mother.
Is that real?
It's a 10-episode comedy sequel. It will be called How I Met Your Father.
Oh, that's on Insider too. I just saw a trailer for The Wonder Years, too, yesterday. It has Dule Hill. Love that man.
Yeah, my thing is this with cable television. I think it's dying.
Yeah.
You know, and I was talking about this with somebody, how all these shows you're watching. I don't know. Do you watch sports?
Not at all. Not in the slightest.
So, as a film bro, I do like to spend some time watching sports as well.
It's very apt for your character.
Yeah, if I'm watching Thursday Night Football, say, right?
Yeah.
The only ads they show for new programming is cable television programming, it seems like. I've heard of none of these shows, and they are all basically the same plot. It's some guy and his family and the journey of their family. It's kind of sad how bad cable television has gotten over the years. And it really shows the dominance of streaming, which is why I think you're seeing a lot of revivals, is because a lot of this new generation is going to be growing up on streaming services.
Yeah.
So they're not going to know a lot of the stuff that came out on cable or that came out in theaters. Well, I think that theaters will come back after COVID, but that's a conversation for another day. But a lot of these things that we grew up with on television and cable, they didn't, and they're not going to see. So that's why I feel like streaming is becoming the new thing.
You know what? So taking what you just said,
yes,
I think part of it is, hey, cable's dying.
Mm-hmm.
We need a streaming platform. We want to bring you over to our streaming platform.
Exactly.
So let's reboot something. Let's reboot iCarly to force you to buy. I still have not canceled my Paramount Plus subscription.
And I'm sure you only bought it to watch iCarly.
I literally just watched it to watch iCarly.
As I did as well. But then you start using it because all of Nickelodeon is now on Paramount Plus. You want to watch SpongeBob? The entirety of SpongeBob, all 20 seasons of SpongeBob is on there.
That's
you
what
want
they
to
reel
watch
you
the
in.
hash-slinging slasher? They put it on. Nostalgia is the key to getting people in our generation because, I don't know, I personally think by the time that I own my own home and by the time that I have kids of my own, I'm not going to have a cable box in my house.
Oh, of course not.
I think I will have a Fire Stick or an Apple TV, and I'll plug that into my flat screen, and I'll have 5-6 different streaming services to choose from, and that's going to be what I use. Yeah. So I think that's why the reboots and the remakes are so popular right now. I don't know necessarily why it is for films. I think it's more of a laziness thing, in my opinion.
I mean,
in the film industry.
It's easy money.
It's so easy because you already have a built-in fan base. You don't have to build your own audience. But it's a little frustrating. I want to ask you, what are some things that they're making a Grease remake? That's gonna be
oh my gosh, and they're even redoing I should know this movie. It's the one with Snaps and Steven Spielberg is doing it.
West Side Story.
They're doing a West Side.
I saw that with oh my gosh, his name is on the tip of my tongue. He's in Baby Driver.
Oh, Ansel Elgort.
Ansel Elgort is playing the lead guy.
Yeah.
I didn't like West Side Story.
I hate West Side Story.
I just
with
thought
a burning passion.
My thing is this: why are gang members dancing in the street and frolicking along.
Okay.
That's just not a very gang member thing.
Wouldn't you be kind of scared though?
No.
If like you saw a gang like snapping at you, you wouldn't freak out a little bit?
No. It's the same thing if Troy Bolton and the Wildcats pulled up to my high school for a basketball game. I would not be frightened at all by them.
If they started singing like 16 or Get Your Head in the Game,
No,
in
it
front of
wouldn't.
you,
It wouldn't frighten me. I don't understand why they have tough guys in musicals and expect people to think that's realistic. It just doesn't happen.
I would definitely be taken aback. I once heard, so this is not movies, but I once heard that the best tactic to like fending off an attacker is to act even crazier than them.
Well, it probably would freak you out. So yeah.
Exactly, which is what I'm telling you.
Okay, maybe you're right because now I'm thinking back. Troy Bolton comes in singing "Head in the Game," and then he drops 30 points on me. I mean, that is scary.
You'd at least be like a little like shook. You'd be a little
I guess
surprised.
I'd be like, "Whoa,
yeah,
whoa."
exactly.
But
so,
yes,
you're gonna ask a question.
Grease, they're getting a remake.
Oh,
Dune.
Dune's getting a remake. I'm actually really excited.
That's with Timothy, right?
Yeah.
Rugrats got a remake. That already came out. I mentioned that.
Yeah.
That one's creepy because I mean,
The art
you
style's
can't
really
see
weird.
it, but look at the viewers can't.
Yeah,
see
they
it,
can't
but
see it. But the art style's really. I used to love Rugrats back in the day. That was one of my favorite
the theme
TV
song
shows.
Too. They had a spin-off show.
They did.
All grown up.
Yes, I forgot about that.
But my question to you is, give me 3 movies or TV shows that you hope stay untouched. That will never be touched by, whether that be, I don't know, just things you think, you just hope that they don't touch them.
All right,
that the film gods make sure never get touched by studio heads.
All right, then I might have to edit around me thinking because it's going to take me a hot second.
Well, I can give you a couple.
Okay, yeah, you give me a couple because I have like one and I can think of a couple more as you talk.
So definitely the one that I hope they never remake is Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Okay.
That movie needs to stay untouched.
I've never finished Ferris Bueller's Day
Okay,
Off. I started watching it, but I didn't finish it.
I don't know how you've never finished that movie. It's one of the greatest movies of all time.
So the problem was I was watching it on Netflix, right? And it was like 3:00 in the morning, and I started watching it because the next day was going to get taken off, right? So whenever like Netflix reset, it was going to leave, and I was just so exhausted.
I feel.
And it was at the point where I was like, I can't stay up to watch this.
Well,
movie
it's
anymore.
back on Netflix, so you have no excuse.
All right, so then
not to watch
so I'll watch it at some point, and I'll report back to you too.
Okay, good to know.
Okay, what's another one?
Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Superbad,
Mm-hmm.
and probably, you know, the third one's up in the air, but I don't want to be like too much on the Seth Rogen, James Franco, but
Yeah.
I hope they don't ever remake. I don't think they ever would remake it, but Pineapple Express.
I've actually never. I don't know if I've never seen Pineapple Express.
I'm trying
Or
to
Superbad.
Let me
I haven't seen any of the movies on your list.
Let me look at my letterbox real quick.
Okay.
Maybe that'll help me.
The first.
You know what movie I hope they never remake? Shawshank Redemption.
Oh, that's such a good movie. Yeah, no, that deserves.
And
to
I'll
never
give
be
you a
touched.
movie that I think needs to be remade. Finally, I think they need a good version of it. This is very controversial.
Yeah.
I think it is time for them to make a good version of Great Gatsby.
Oh, So here's the thing. I have some Great Gatsby tastes.
Because, like, do you like the book? Let's
I
just start
hate
with
the
that.
book. The book really bored me.
Oh.
And I disliked the movie even more. The movie I felt was super, like, just disrespectful to the source material.
Like
There was like
the Leo one?
Yeah.
With the Kanye West and the...
That's what I was thinking. There's a Kanye West. There's like, it's a hip hop movie all of a sudden. What?
I know. I didn't like it. I mean, do you like the idea of the story itself?
I like the vibes.
Like
of
the
the
concept
story.
of, I mean, Nick Carraway's a little weird. I'm not going to lie. He's a little obsessive with Gatsby.
Yeah.
Because you kind of forget that it's not in the perspective of Great Gatsby sometimes. Yeah. It's in the perspective of Nick Carraway. But I think that it's time for them to make a good version of that movie.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's not been a good version of that movie. Because I personally really liked the book. I thought it was awesome. I thought it was just, it really captured that time of the Roaring 20s. And it's crazy to think that that book is going to hit 100 years old, I think, next year.
Really?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure. It came out in the early 20s.
No, see, everyone loved that book when we read it in school. And maybe it was just because it was so overhyped for me. Because I remember getting the book and I was like, oh my gosh, like I've been told to read this for years and years.
1925. So in 4 years from now, that book will be 100
That's still
years
really
old.
close, though.
Yeah.
Is that when it hits common domain, too? Or whatever it's called?
I don't know what that means.
Sorry, moving on. Let's ignore that.
Oh, that's like the thing where it's anyone's property?
Yeah.
I don't know. So maybe we will see a remake, but I feel like it won't be for a while. I don't think it will be at least another 20 years because there's been 2 versions of The Great Gatsby. The one that came out with Leo wasn't the first one.
What was the other one?
I think it was called... So the Leo one was just called Gatsby. It wasn't The Great Gatsby. It was
Really?
just Gatsby. Yes.
Are you sure about that?
I'm sure. I will show you The Great Gatsby 2013 film. Oh no, it's The Great Gatsby. Well, look at the trailer. It just says Gatsby.
It just says Gatsby.
Look at the movie.
No,
poster.
you're right. You're right.
But the first one came out in... So that one came out in 2013, got panned by critics, didn't even get a 50% on Rotten Tomatoes. The second one, that one came out in 1974, and it got a 39%. Now, I feel like a story like that is so easy to make a movie out of. Also, it's really embarrassing. Francis Ford Coppola, who directed The Godfather, screenwrote.
That's really surprising. Especially, go ahead, start finish what you were saying.
No, I was saying that he was the one who wrote that movie.
Yeah, for something that's so beloved, I'm surprised that it didn't.
Yeah.
Like,
no, I'm pretty surprised.
Get a better adaptation.
Yeah,
it's kind of odd to me. It's very surprising.
Yeah, because books are really the source of a lot of good movies. If you think
so
about
many.
It. All of Stephen King's bibliography has become so many great films. I mean, we could talk about that. Now, those are adaptations. Do you think that's lazy in itself? Using.
All right, hold on. So let me give you my 3 movies.
Yes.
And then and then we can talk about the book thing too.
Sounds good.
So actually, I don't have 3 movies. I have 1 movie.
Let me just hear the one.
Well, my 1 movie. Actually, I have 2.
Okay,
I have 2.
That works too.
So this is getting some remake, reboot, whatever already. I don't necessarily need it to or want it to. The Lord of the Rings movies.
Yeah, no, I agree with
you. They're getting the Amazon TV show, and it is all of like the 3 books, right? I just like those are such great, well done movies, and like, could you ever watch anyone else besides Ian McKellen play Gandalf?
I've never seen Lord of the Rings.
You've never seen Lord of the Rings? Joe, come on. Really?
I've never seen Lord of the Rings.
You're kidding me.
No.
All right, moving on. Fine. The other one is When Harry Met Sally.
Yes, I've seen that movie. I've seen that movie. That's a movie I really like. That's my favorite rom-com of all time.
That's my favorite. We're going to talk about it later. That's also my favorite rom-com.
Yes. I think we need to do an episode on just rom-coms.
I'd love to. Actually, I have not seen as many rom-coms as I would have liked to.
Oh, well, I love rom-coms. So.
But I think that movie is very ripe for remake potential because it's getting on the older side now.
Yeah.
And you could do any like when blank met blank. You know what I mean?
Exactly. So they gotta be. But that concept of 2 friends dating and then it's such an easy one to remake.
I can see Hulu making a TV show with that, like right now.
Like a limited series?
Yeah, literally.
Hulu has some good limited TV series. I will give them that, especially off of things that have already been done. They did a Looking for Alaska TV limited series, and it was really good.
I'm trying to think of any Hulu limited series I've seen.
They also made a good movie, too, with Pete Davidson. Big Time Adolescence was a good movie.
I haven't heard that much about it.
No.
But,
what were we talking about?
Books.
Books.
Talking about books.
Is that lazy? Is that considered a remake? I say no, but...
It's definitely not a remake. For sure not a remake.
It's not a remake, but it's definitely a little easier, I would feel like, than, say, coming up with something completely... But it could be harder to an extent.
I think that you have to, like, match the expectations of the books. You know what I mean? Like, you come out of the gate with people being like, I love this source material, and now you're going to bring it to life for me. You have to do it the right way. Like,
I agree.
Like that's one remake I'm excited for. I'm excited for the Percy Jackson.
They're remaking the Percy Jackson books?
They're doing a Disney Plus TV show.
About Percy Jackson?
About Percy Jackson.
From what time?
They're doing
from the start?
Yeah, from the start.
But they already made 3 movies.
They made 2 movies.
But 10 years ago, it's not even that.
No, so like Logan Lerman isn't going to be in it anymore.
Oh, so it's all new.
Yeah, they're casting new people. Rick Riordan is actually a part of the entire process now. He and his wife, I think,
who wrote the book.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which is like a huge issue because he refused to even like read the script or watch the movie.
Why was that?
Because he was still writing them. He wasn't writing the Percy Jackson series. He was writing like Into Heroes of Olympus. And he didn't want his perception of the movie to influence how he wrote his characters.
Oh,
later on.
That's pretty interesting.
It's really interesting. But now he's like hands-on, helping like the process go through, and it's just very much a part of it. And so I'm hoping that because the original creator is behind the project, that it will retain its essence.
I was more of a Diver Wimpy Kid fan.
I was too.
Yeah, those movies were good.
You know what? Logic Rules holds up.
Yeah,
for sure. Have you seen it recently?
Have I seen it recently? I think I saw it like 2 years ago ish, 2-ish years ago.
I watched
3 years ago.
2 summers ago.
Yeah, probably around then. I think it was 2 years ago. Yes, and I loved it.
It's actually like really like I really like it as a movie.
It was good. It was a good movie.
It has no right being good, but it's pretty entertaining.
Well, now that we are talking about our favorite movies and we're getting close to time, I think it's time we reveal our top 10 or top 5 are we doing?
I only have 5 for you.
Okay, we'll do a top 5.
Let's please only do top 5.
Let's do a top 5. You want to go first?
Sure. So these are in no particular order.
Okay.
I'm going to pull them out. Do we want to discuss them a little bit too?
You could give a little discussion. You can explain yourself.
Okay. So the first one actually let's just get it out of the way. When Harry Met Sally.
That's in the top 5.
I don't know. I just love that movie so much. It has such a great. Are you sending Snapchats?
Yeah, I
as we're doing our podcast. This is our premiere episode.
There's one person I had to answer.
That's fine.
Anyways,
that's fine. It's just Billy Crystal and oh my gosh, I'm blanking on her name right now.
Oh my gosh, I know it too.
She deserves so much more respect than this.
I don't. I want to remember. What is her name?
Is it Meg something? Meg Ryan?
Yes. Yep.
Did I get it? Please tell me I got it.
You got it, Meg
Amazing.
Ryan. Boom.
Thank you. I'm so bad
91% on Rotten Tomatoes,
I'm very proud of myself.
Too.
It's just such a wholesome... Oh, and the music is so much fun.
What's your favorite scene?
My favorite scene from that movie? Oh, man, this is such a tough question. The first thing that came to mind is when they're in the, like, electronic shop and they're doing karaoke, and is it Sally's ex comes in? Or is it...
One of their exes. I think it's Harry's ex comes in with her. I think it's Harry's ex.
Yeah. So
one of the exes comes in, though.
So that scene comes to mind, and the one where they're arguing about like the coffee table.
Oh yeah.
I forget the context for it, but I remember it being very rich in subtext.
Yeah. For me, I would say I find the last scene... Okay, because for me, I love funny movies, but if I'm watching a rom-com, I'm usually watching it when I've just been heartbroken.
Yeah.
So I like to realize that love exists to some extent. So I love watching the part... Like, my favorite scene in the whole movie is the last New Year's Eve when he runs up and he's, like, telling her all the things he likes about her. I just think it's so wholesome.
It's really cute.
And that's my favorite part of the movie by
so
far.
Good.
Which is so unexpected for me to say because a lot of people, my friends heard that was my favorite part of a rom-com. They'd be a little surprised. There's a lot of cool people in the cast, too. Carrie Fisher was in the cast.
I forgot Carrie Fisher was in there.
I only know her as Princess Leia, so.
Yeah, same. The other thing about When Harry Met Sally, and then we'll move on, is I just love how it's built on being a subversion of rom-coms.
Yeah.
Like all the little like
it's not a rom-com.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. And all the little like snippets of the couples getting interviewed, they're always like, "Oh my gosh, like love at first sight," and then we came back together, and then we fell in love and whatnot. And at every step of the way, when Harry Met Sally is like, "No, they're not gonna fall in love."
It makes you realize though that love is real.
Yeah, it's so interesting. My next one is I'm gonna get the superhero movies out of the way.
You
Logan.
My mom loves. What's his name?
Hugh Jackman?
No. What? Who?
Wolverine.
Wolverine.
Wolverine. Yeah.
Is it Wolverine?
Yeah, that is.
So yeah, I actually dressed up as Wolverine for Halloween once when I was 4.
Had you ever seen like an X-Men movie before?
Oh, I had seen them then.
Okay,
that was the end of my. That was probably the peak of my superhero run was when I was Wolverine and then Spider-Man the year after. But yes, I had not seen Logan, but I've seen Wolverine in X-Men.
Yeah, so that's a character who I wouldn't want rebooted. Hugh Jackman does such a good job as Wolverine.
He is awesome. He's been doing it for years now.
He did it for what, like 14 years, I think. I think he had like the world record for like long. Actually, that's a lie. It couldn't be longest running character. Maybe it was most films as a character.
Is he still gonna do it?
No, I mean, Logan was pitched as being the end.
Oh, so it's the end.
Yeah. So Logan is like the conclusion of Hugh Jackman's story. But it's really brutal, really gory, very personal and emotional because he has this connection with this little girl. Her name is Laura. And I don't know. It's a very good, well done movie. It's full of like morality and like not morality, mortality, and like questions about like what it means to live and whatnot. Anyway, very good. The next movie, another superhero one, is Avengers End Game.
I fell asleep in the movie theater during that movie.
Are you kidding?
I swear to God.
Well, I guess you hadn't seen them.
No, I had not seen. I'd seen the first Avengers.
Preceding.
I was like in and out of sleep watching that. I had not seen 2 or 3, and then I went to the movie theaters with 7 of my friends to see Endgame, and 6 of the 7 of us fell asleep.
6 out of you guys?
At some point during the movie. Yeah.
How?
I don't know. I fell asleep during the part where Black Widow dies. That was the part I fell asleep.
That really hurts me.
So she was awake. I mean, she was alive when I was awake. Yeah. I woke up from my little nap and she was dead.
And she was on the ground. That's really upsetting. So yeah. I'm gonna give you a little bit more context for my Marvel movie love. I have seen all but 2 of the Marvel movies in theaters with my father.
Oh, so it's like a father-son.
And so it's
awesome.
It's a very close like family thing that we have. Like my whole entire family always goes out together to go watch all the movies. So I have like a very like personal connection to them. And when Endgame came out, it was 2019. That was the year I graduated. And so when me and my dad talk about Endgame, he kind of sees it as like the closing of like that chapter of my life.
That's pretty cool. That's kind of sad but cool.
It's so poetic and it's so I don't know.
It is.
But like in this movie, it was like the culmination of I think 11 years of content at that point, 22 movies, I believe. It's just so filled with like fan service, but not like cheap fan service. Like it felt like so satisfying to watch all of these things get tied off. Anyway, I can talk for days about Endgame, so I'll stop there. My next movie is. Did you have any thoughts? You feel you look like you want to say something.
No, I just that's so. I don't know. That kind of hit home the way you described that. That was pretty interesting.
Thank you. I could go on for days about my connection with that movie. Yeah, the only ones I haven't seen with my dad are Shang-Chi and Captain Marvel. I've seen them, but I just haven't watched them with him. But yeah, I'm obsessed with Marvel movies, and a lot of it is because of that connection. But I also think they're very well done films.
It's pretty. They get good reviews, so yeah. There's got to be. They're doing something. Right?
They are doing something. All right, next one is Inside Out. Have you seen Inside Out?
I've seen Inside Out. It's a pretty cute movie. I would not put it in my top 5, but I think it's a good movie.
I don't know. Inside Out, I love Pixar movies.
I do too.
They're some of my favorite out there. And love me some Toy Story 3. Love toys holding hands as they're about to get burned, and stuff. But Inside Out just hits me. I don't know. It hits me in my feels. They do such a good job. Pete Docter especially does a really good job of taking these abstract ideas about the human existence and then forming them into this animated creation that makes sense and makes sense to kids, but then as an older person watching them, you understand a deeper level of it. And I think its message is so beautiful too.
Yeah, it's a good movie.
And my final one is Marriage Story.
I've never seen Marriage Story. It's a movie I've wanted to see. I just never got around to it. But I've heard very good things about that movie. I've heard it's one of the most intense watching experiences of a film.
I love it so much. It's one of those movies where, Scarlett Johansson and Adam Driver, they're the lead characters, and the movie kind of never wants you to choose one of them to or makes you at the very least constantly flip between which one you like, which one you think is in the right or the wrong. And it's just such a beautiful story. It's very, very depressing at times, but they do such an excellent job doing it. And Noah Baumbach is really good at writing realistic dialogue too.
Yeah, it was I saw some scenes from that movie. It gets pretty intense.
It's really good.
That one scene, the really famous one where they're fighting.
The drywall punch scene?
Yes, that one's pretty intense. So I'm going to give you my top 5 now. Okay. It's definitely a lot different than yours.
That's fine. I'm excited to see if I've seen any of them.
Okay. Jackass number 2.
I have not.
That is a movie. It's not really got a plot, but I think it's the most intense Jackass movie they ever made. It was the best pranks the best stunts. I don't know. I grew up watching that. It was just a very nostalgic movie of my childhood, and I could throw that on at any time and I'll laugh. And I think for me, a lot of the stuff they do is really interesting because, I don't know, I think they just kind of beat to their own drum. They don't really care what anyone thinks about them, that whole crew.
Yeah.
They had a TV show on MTV for 2 years, and then they started making movies. They've made 3, and the 4th one's coming out in February. I'm definitely going to go see that.
I was going to ask, are you excited for that one?
Very excited.
I watched the trailer for it just because you mentioned it.
Yeah.
If you hadn't mentioned it to me, I would not have watched the trailer.
Yeah, it's not a movie I feel like you would like.
I don't know. I would at least watch it.
It's funny.
I would give it a try for you. If you were like, you should watch it, I would watch it.
It's brainless humor. You know, if you're bored, it's on. You're going to get a good laugh. I mean, you got Steve-O, John Knoxville, the whole crew.
Yeah, they're not playing characters. They are themselves.
They're just
going
themselves,
through...
and I'm more into that stuff. You know, I don't like character. I like character, but I'm not a big. I like real. Is my thing.
Okay.
Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Yeah.
That's gonna be my top 5. Superbad. In my top. Ferris Bueller, I like. Again, it's another very nostalgic movie towards my childhood, just because. I just remember watching that with my parents. Not to kind of copy you, but it's not as deep. I just remember watching it for the first time with my parents.
Yeah.
And I think I just like it because, you know, I like the message of it.
Yeah.
You know, because he kind of lives life in a way that I think we all could take a little note in our books and live life like Ferris Bueller. Even though he's a terrible, terrible friend to Cameron in that movie.
Yeah.
In the parts that you probably saw. The way that he lives life and the famous quote, I have it on my laptop right here.
Do you?
It says, yes. It says, well, it's not the quote, but it's the most famous quote for that movie that I always remember is that life moves pretty fast. And if you don't stop and look around once in a while, you might miss it. And that's really true. Living life to the fullest is very important. So that's why Ferris Bueller is on my list. Yeah. Superbad is on my list because I think it's just single-handedly the greatest teen comedy movie ever made, and I don't think any movie will ever be able to emulate what was done with that film. It is so funny. It is so funny. It is so perfectly well done. From McLovin, I have McLovin on my laptop. You all can see it. With the whole fake ID, that brought Jonah Hill out to the public, basically. That was a big breakout movie. Michael Cera's great in it. Seth Rogen's awesome in it. And also, it kind of inspired me to get into doing some screenplay and stuff. Because
cool.
Seth Rogen and his writing partner, there's a joke that if Seth Rogen is the face of that writing partnership, how ugly must the other writing partner be? But they wrote that movie together when they were 17 years old.
Yeah. Oh, wow. I didn't even know that.
And for it to be one of the greatest teen comedies of all time has made me realize, well, damn, I could do that too.
That's so cool. That's really neat.
That's why that's in my list. I think I'm on, that was 3, so I'm on 2.
Yeah.
Shawshank Redemption.
Shawshank Redemption is great.
That's
I have seen that movie.
I don't know. I almost got a little teary-eyed watching that. I watched it in school for the first time, and I hated it. I was like, this is just a stupid school movie.
Yeah.
And then over break, we had that really long break this year. Mm-hmm. And over break, I watched it, and the whole get busy living or get busy dying just it struck a chord. I really liked that movie. And number 1, I already mentioned it, Goodfellas. I don't really know what to say about that. That's just a great movie.
Okay, I have a question for you. As I haven't seen very many Scorsese films, what sets that apart from the rest to you?
It's a little more fast-paced. Also, the fact that it's kind of about the mob, but it's about a real mobster, so it's a real story. Well, actually, a lot of those things are based off real people.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, well, Wolf of Wall Street, that's a real...
Yeah.
Then you got Goodfellas, that's a real story. I think those are the only 2, actually. But, I don't know. Something about it was just different, and it was very fast-paced, and the cast was amazing. And also, a lot of the cast ended up being in The Sopranos, and I think that's also why I like it, because I like a lot of the cast members already from being in The Sopranos. And I just like gangster movies, and I think it's the greatest gangster movie of all time. I also think gangster movies itself have spawned some of the greatest pieces of cinema and TV we've ever seen, in my opinion.
No, I definitely hear like the accolades of Goodfellas,
Exactly.
The Godfather, The Sopranos, all movies.
The Godfather is something that people consider the greatest.
Yeah, people
movie
like
of all time.
people like part 2 more, right?
Yeah.
Am I wrong?
It goes like 1 or 2 is up for debate, but they just say that 3 is terrible.
Yeah,
but,
I've heard that. What was I gonna say to you? Oh my gosh.
Gangster movies.
Yeah, I've been trying to get into. Oh, not trying to get into them because that would imply that I'm actually making an effort to do it. But it's in my head. I was in a class recently, and we watched snippets of The Sopranos, and it was the episode where he goes to college on college tours with his daughter.
Yeah, that's the episode they say that made it like it. So the first 4 episodes, they're okay.
Yeah.
But that 5th episode, which was the episode that you're watching snippets of, really took it over the map.
Yeah, I'm assuming it's the emotional like family element of it, right?
Yeah.
It like made
at the root
people.
of the show is just a show about a family.
Yeah.
You know, and we all come from families with dysfunction, but theirs just happens to be there in the mafia.
Yeah.
And it shows. I mean, even though you don't want to admit it, you're drawn to the show because even though these people are terrible people, they're just a family. And all families have some of the issues that they face. It humanizes terrible people. And although we are not inherently terrible people, we have some of the traits that they have.
Yeah, we all have
humans
darkness.
do. We all have darkness. And, you know, it's also nice to laugh at the fact that we're not like them. So that's why I love that show. But yeah, gangster movies.
That's awesome. I love that. You know what? I think I'm gonna start. I think the next show that I start watching will be The Sopranos.
I think if you get through the first 5 episodes, you'll not stop watching.
Okay.
It's just getting through the first 4, getting to episode 5.
Yeah.
That's what. Because I had tried to watch it at least 2 or 3 times. I couldn't watch it until I got to episode 5, and then it was just.
It was just straight through for you.
I was going through it. I watched it in 2 weeks, and it's a 7-season. Hour-long episode.
There's 7 seasons of that show you did in 2 weeks. That's impressive. Yeah. That's really impressive.
It was during break, so I had nothing to do.
I mean, over break. I watched. Sorry, we're kind of running over time. I think we need to end relatively soon.
Yeah, we're gonna wrap up soon, but you could finish.
But I was very proud. I watched BoJack Horseman over.
That's a show I feel like I need to be in the right mental space to watch.
Oh, have you seen it already, or you've?
I've seen the first couple of episodes and I really liked it.
I think it definitely gets. I mean, I don't know if you're into like the more narrative storytelling of it because it kind of pitches itself as kind of just like zany adult sitcom, but then they get into some like very serious topics of like mental health.
I kind of think that's why I want to watch it. I want to get into it.
And it takes like the first half. Actually, I forget which website it was, but it's really interesting. Some website that did like movie reviews, they had something where they're like, for Netflix shows, we're only gonna watch the first half of the season and we're gonna review it, right? And so BoJack got some really low score for that, and then they ended up watching the second half, and they redid their entire philosophy for watching or for reviewing Netflix shows.
Wow!
Because the second half is just so much different.
The second half of the show itself?
Of the season, of the first season.
Oh.
The very first season.
I think I got to episode 6 of the first season, and then I just never got around to finishing.
I think that's like the line right before they cross into what the show was actually.
Yeah, I'll have to give that a watch. That will be my next watch. I'm actually started Shameless. I just started.
I've heard really good things about that.
Yeah, it's so long, And we're college students. I feel like I might transition to BoJack just because it's like 30-ish episodes.
They're really digestible.
Quicker. Yeah, and Shameless, the hour episodes, 12 seasons. It's gonna take me a while, but we got to wrap it up.
We do.
Our last segment, it's gonna be a really quick one. We're each gonna give each other a movie to watch, and then next week we're gonna talk about it on the show.
Yeah.
So, what is your movie you have brought for me?
So, my movie. I was concerned that you had seen it, but now I know that you most certainly have not seen it. I'm gonna recommend that you watch Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. I don't know if you have
seen it.
A means of watching it. If not, you're more than welcome to come over because I have it and you can watch it there.
I think it's on Netflix.
Oh, I think it is on Netflix. I think so you should go.
I will be watching that.
Okay.
My movie for you.
Yeah.
So you said you're not a big Tarantino guy.
No, I've seen.
What Tarantino movies have you seen?
Okay, hold on. Let me go through this. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Pulp Fiction. I've seen the extended cut of The Hateful Eight. Mm-hmm. There's so many more that I've seen. What are some other ones?
Have you seen Inglourious Basterds?
I haven't seen I have seen that one.
Okay, so I'm gonna give you a movie that I think is a movie that's I really like it. It's
Yeah.
called Big Time. Do you have Hulu?
Yeah.
It's on Hulu. It's Big Time Adolescence. It's a Hulu original movie starring Pete Davidson and Griffin Gluck. And it's a comedy film that was filmed right here in Syracuse.
Was it actually?
Yes.
Wait, that's really. Wait, are they like either of them from Syracuse or
Nope,
is it?
but the American High.
Oh, is it from American
it's
High?
An American High
Got
film.
you.
Yes.
I got you.
And it got pretty good reviews. I think it's like an 80-something% on Rotten
That's
Tomatoes.
solid.
So these are two great movies. We'll be coming back with our own reviews of it next week. That is all for the first episode of the Some Pulp Podcast. I'm Joe.
And I'm Josh.
We'll see you next week.
Thanks for tuning in.